The sky over planet Vora was always gray. Cold winds blew through the metal streets. The buildings were tall and dark, and no one smiled. In the middle of this city, near a food market, sat a girl. Her name was Elira. She had no shoes. Her clothes were torn, her skin was thin, and her eyes were hollow from hunger. Her hands were shaking. She had not eaten for 3 days. Every day she sat near the food stalls. She watched as rich aliens bought meat, bread, and fruits. The smell of food made her stomach hurt, but no one gave her anything. She whispered the same words every time someone passed. Please, just a crumb. But they ignored her. Some laughed. Some looked at her with hate. On Vora, poor people were nothing. Refugees were treated like trash. Lii was not born on this planet. Her home was destroyed many years ago. She had no family left. No friends? She was only 14 years old, but already her heart felt heavy like stone. She closed her eyes. Maybe today she would not wake up. But then something strange happened. A ship landed. A human ship. It was rare. Vora did not like humans, but they sometimes came to trade. From the ship, soldiers and officers stepped down. One of them was a tall man with kind eyes. His name was Commander Jace Thorne. Jace looked different from the others. He looked curious. The humans moved into the market. Elira watched them. Her eyes followed the food crates. Maybe, she thought, just maybe. She crawled forward weakly. Please. Just a crumb? She said again, almost too soft to hear. One? Alien guard kicked her aside. Get away, rat. He shouted. She fell to the ground, face first. Her lip bled. That's when Jace saw her. He stopped. He looked at her for a long time. The other humans didn't notice. They were busy with cargo. Jca slowly walked toward her. Elira tried to crawl away. She thought he might hit her too, but he knelt beside her. Are you okay? He asked. She didn't answer. She just stared. No one had ever asked her that before. Jace opened his bag. He pulled out a small piece of bread. It was not much, but to her it was gold. He handed it to her. She stared at it. Her hands didn't move. Go on, Jace said softly. Take it. She reached out. Her fingers were shaking. She held the bread close to her face. Then suddenly she began to cry. She cried hard. She hadn't cried in a long time. Jace looked around. Some aliens were watching. Their faces were angry. One of them whispered, that human is feeding a scavenger. Jace didn't care. He stayed with her for a few minutes. What's your name? He asked. Elira, she said, between tears. Well, Elira, he said, that bread may be small, but your spirit isn't. Don't give up. Then he stood up and walked away. She watched him leave. That night, Elira didn't eat the bread. She held it close while she slept. It was not just food, it was hope. Someone had seen her. Someone cared, but unknown to Jace, a small drone camera had recorded everything. And on Vora, helping a refugee was a crime. The next morning, Elira woke up with new strength in her chest. She took one bite of the bread. She smiled for the first time in months, but far away, in the city command center, a Vora official watched the video. Find that human, he said, and arrest him. Elira didn't know yet, but her life had just changed. The human who gave her bread had also given her something more. A beginning. Why would a human help a girl like her? That was the question flying through the Vora City security room. Aliens in gray uniforms stared at the footage. Again and again, a human man kneeling offering food. To a nobody. In their cold system, kindness was a threat. Far from that room, Elira sat on the edge of an old water pipe. Her legs dangled above the city's lower tunnels. The wind was sharp, but her heart felt warm. She took tiny bites of the bread that the human gave her. She made it last. She was saving it like a treasure. She didn't know his name, but she remembered his eyes. They were not like the others. They saw her. Commander Jace Thorne was back at his ship. He was busy logging supplies. But he couldn't stop thinking about the girl. He had seen war. He had seen hunger. But her eyes haunted him, not because they were sad, but because they still had hope. He asked a quiet question to himself. Why did no one help her before? His second-in-command, LT, Varen, noticed Jace's silence. You gave food to a street rat, didn't you? Varen said, raising an eyebrow. She was starving, Jace replied. Varan shook his head. That's not allowed on Vora. You'll get us all in trouble. Jace didn't answer. He looked out of the ship's window. The city below was cold steel and darker hearts. That night, Illyra returned to the market, not for food, but to see if the human would return. She waited, hidden behind broken crates, and he did. Jace was walking. Slowly, he looked around. He was searching. Illyra? He whispered softly. Her heart jumped. He remembered her name. She stepped out. You came back? Of course, he said. She looked thinner, weaker than yesterday. They don't like that you helped me. I know, Jace replied. But I'm not from here, she smiled. You're kind. No, he said. I'm just human. Then he gave her a small water pack and a protein bar. She took it with both hands, like it was a gift from the stars, but before she could thank him, a loud metal clang rang through the air. Guards, Vora patrol, run! Jace shouted. They split in different directions. Illyra disappeared into the pipes. Jace ran into a side alley and pulled out his communicator. This is Commander Thorn. I need pickup. Fast. But it was too late. Red lights flashed around him. He turned. 5 guards had surrounded him. Commander Jace Thorn, one of them said, cold and sharp. You are under arrest for illegal aid to a street-class refugee. Jace raised his hand slowly. She was just a child. Exactly, the guard said. A dangerous one. In the underground, Illyra was watching from the shadows. Her body froze. She saw them take Jace away in handcuffs. He helped her, and now he would suffer for it. She closed her eyes, and something inside her shifted. A soft hum echoed through her bones. Like a sleeping memory, trying to wake. She didn't understand it yet. But the fear was turning into something else. A spark. Meanwhile, back at the city station, Jace sat in a glass cell. An officer looked at him with disgust. You humans always think you're better than our laws. I don't think I'm better, Jace said calmly. I just think your laws are wrong. The officer slammed the table. That girl's kinda dangerous. That's why we keep them where they belong, in the dirt. But Jace didn't respond. He knew words wouldn't change their hearts. Illyra sat under the moonlight that night. Her hands gripped the last piece of bread he had given her. She made a promise to herself. I will not let him pay for being kind. She stood up, and for the first time in her life, she was not afraid. The courtroom smelled like smoke and metal. Silence filled the air like fog. The judge, tall and stiff, stared down from his glass throne. His cold eyes locked onto the man. In handcuffs, Commander Jace Thorn, the voice echoed. You are charged with feeding a Class C refugee. How do you plead? Jace looked up. He had bruises on his face. His uniform was torn, but his voice was calm. Guilty. Gasps spread across the room. On planet Vora, that word guilty didn't just mean punishment. It meant you challenged. The system in the shadows above the court, high in the broken vents. Illyra was watching. She had crawled through sewage tunnels, climbed walls, and almost got caught twice. But she had to see him. She had to know what they would do to the man who showed her kindness. The guards didn't know she was there. And if they saw her, she would disappear forever. The judge spoke again. You fed her. Why? Jace replied simply. Because she was hungry. Compassion is not allowed here, the judge said. It leads to rebellion. And rebellion leads to war. Jace smiled faintly. Then maybe you should be afraid. Illyra felt something burn inside her again. That same pulse in her chest, like a drum. Like heat rising under her skin. She didn't know what it was. But every time she felt pain or fear, it answered, after. The trial, Jace was taken back to his cell. The sentence was not death. No, Vora-like slow punishment. He would be sent to the ice mines, where most prisoners never returned. Illyra listened from above. Her fingers were bleeding from the sharp vents. Her heart was racing. I have to get him out, she whispered. But how? She was just a refugee. No power, no weapon. No plan. Until that moment, when she remembered something, a long time ago, on a different world, before the fires and war. She had seen her mother press her hand to a glass screen. The screen had glowed. Blue, words had appeared. Her mother whispered, This is in your blood too, Illyra. One day you'll remember. Illyra's hand trembled. She looked around and crawled deeper into the ventilation shafts, toward the prison tower's control room. Inside the control room, 2 alien guards were sitting. One drank bitter root tea. The other was watching a hologram of a battle game. Suddenly, the screen in front of them flickered, static, then black. What's wrong with the feed? One guard asked. The second guard tapped the screen. I don't know. It's rebooting. But it wasn't behind them. In the dark, a panel opened. Illyra slipped in silently. She crawled under the desk, heart pounding. Her fingers touched the wires. She closed her eyes. Breathe. Remember. She reached out, touched the panel again, and this time, the screen didn't show static. It showed her face, glowing, calm. Lines of ancient code scrolled down. Not Vora language. Not human. Something older, the guards screamed. One of them tried to pull his blaster, but the doors locked by themselves. The control panel beeped. A soft female voice spoke from the speaker. Control override, confirmed. Security shields offline. Illyra opened her eyes. Her nose was bleeding. Her head ached, but the doors to Jace's cell were now unlocked. JSCE sat on the cold floor, thinking of Earth, of trees, of oceans, of peace. Then suddenly, the metal door creaked open. He stood ready for a fight, but instead he saw a familiar face. Illyra? He whispered. She was shaking. Her lips were pale, but she was standing tall. Come with me, she said. How? He asked, shocked. I don't know, she answered honestly, but I did it. They ran through the halls. Sirens blared. But security systems were down. Lights blinked. Cameras were blind. Somewhere deep in the building, a computer was still whispering, override, override, override. Back in the judge's chamber, a red light blinked. Someone's broken the main grid. An officer yelled. The judge stood. How is that possible? No one can hack our system. Another officer shouted, it's not a hacker, it's something else. Jace and Illyra burst out of the prison gates. The night wind hit their faces. Jace grabbed her hand. You saved me, he said. She looked at him, tears in her eyes. You saved me first, and somewhere inside her. That ancient fire was still burning, but now it was growing. She was standing inside a dream. The world around her was burning. Sky, red, ground, ash, people screaming, buildings falling. And in the center of it all, a girl with glowing eyes and fire in her veins. Then she saw her mother, reaching out through the flames. Illyra, her voice echoed, don't be afraid of the fire. You are the fire. Illyra woke up with a scream. Her body was cold, but her skin was sweating. Jace rushed over. It's okay, he whispered. It was just a dream. She looked at her hands. They were smoking, not burnt, not hurt, just smoking. They were hiding now, deep in the outer tunnels of Vora's abandoned sector. It was a dead zone. Machines didn't work here. Guards never came. Jace had brought medical supplies. He cleaned her cuts, wrapped her feet, and gave her warm food. She stared at him while eating. You don't have to help me anymore, she said softly. I know, he said, but I want to. Outside, the Vora city was in chaos. Security systems had failed. Cameras had gone dark. Prison doors had unlocked for 7 seconds. Enough to shake the entire planet's control system, and no one knew how it happened. In the capital, Vora leaders argued. Someone hacked our system, one said. No, replied another. It wasn't a hack, it was a power source. Inside, a living being, a general stood slowly. I think we missed something. The girl, back in the tunnels, Jace sat by the fire. Illyra was silent, staring into the flames. Why are they so afraid of you? He asked. She didn't answer. Then, after a long pause, she spoke. When I was little, she said, my planet was full of light. My people lived in harmony with energy. We didn't use machines the way others do. We were machines. Jace blinked. You mean you're not just a refugee? I'm not even fully biological, she said. My people were living technology. Half organic, half light. They destroyed us because they feared what we could become. Suddenly her hands began to glow faintly. She looked down, not afraid, the fire inside her was remembering. She placed her palm on a cold rock wall nearby. It lit up, lines of glowing red running through it like a heartbeat. Jace stepped back stunned. Your people were like stars, he whispered. She nodded. And now I'm the last spark. But the fire came with pain. Illyra felt weak after using her power. Her head spun. Her breath came slow. Jace caught her before she fell. You're burning yourself out, he said. I don't care, she replied. They'll come for you because of me. Jace looked at her, not with fear, not with pity, but with something else. Respect. You're not a threat, he said. You're a survivor, and maybe the only one who can change this place. At that moment, a loud rumble shook the tunnel. Dust fell from above. Lights flickered. A voice echoed from a small drone hovering outside the entrance. Commander. Jace Thorne, you are ordered to surrender. The girl must be handed over. Illyra stood up. They found us. Jace grabbed his weapon. Then we fight. But Illyra shook her head. No, not yet. She walked to the center of the tunnel. Her hands lit up, this time brighter than ever before. She knelt, placing both palms on the ground, and whispered, remember me. The earth shook, stone cracked, and a giant wave of heat exploded outward, not burning, but blinding. The drone short-circuited midair and crashed to the ground. On the other side of the city, high-level scanners picked up a signal. An ancient energy code, a frequency last recorded hundreds of years ago. The same time her people were wiped out, the Vora leaders stared at the signal. One of them whispered, she's not just alive, she's waking up. Back in the tunnel, Illyra fell into Jace's arms. He held her carefully. You saved us again, he whispered. She nodded weakly. The fire is growing, he smiled. Then let it grow. The universe has tried to crush you, but you're still here. That means something. She looked at him, eyes glowing slightly now, not with power, but with purpose. Space was silent. But inside the orbit of planet Vora, one small human ship was surrounded by 7 Vora warcraft. In the middle of that ship, a girl with glowing hands and a man with a broken rib stood side by side. We're not going to make it, Illyra said softly. Jace didn't blink. Then we'll make them remember us. 12 hours earlier. They had to move fast. Illyra's blast in the tunnels had drawn attention from the entire city. Drones were sweeping every street. Vora soldiers had sealed the transport zones. No air travel. No space clearance. They were trapped. And time was running out. Jace and Illyra hid inside an old scrapyard, where broken ships lay in giant piles like dead animals. No one came here anymore. Jace knew why. Radiation pockets, he said, but it's our only chance. He led Illyra through the maze of wreckage. Every step was sharp. Her legs bled, but she didn't stop. They found an old Earth ship, a Falcon-type shuttle used during early interplanetary wars. Broken, dusty, nearly forgotten. She's dead, Illyra said, touching the cold metal. Not yet, Jace said, opening the panel. We just need a spark. She looked at him. You mean me? He nodded. You're not just a weapon. You're the only power source they can't control. Meanwhile, at Vora Command HQ, the signal had been confirmed. Illyra's energy signature was rising. Her fire was no longer hidden. It was calling. She's going to escape, a Vora officer warned. No, the general replied. She's going to burn, if she tries. They activated the orbital trap net, a defense system that could destroy any unauthorized ship trying to leave the planet. Back at the scrapyard, Jace had rewired the ship. The engine coughed once, then again. But it wouldn't start. Illyra stepped forward. She closed her eyes, placed her hands on the broken engine core, whispered something in her old language, a word even she didn't fully understand. Ignis! The core lit up. Blue veins of power ran through the ship's body. Lights blinked. Metaleus UMD. It was alive again. Jace stared in awe. You just brought a dead ship back to life. Illyra smiled faintly. So did you when you gave me bread. As the ship took off, alarms screamed across Vora's sky towers. Fighter crafts launched into the air. They're following us. Jace said. They're faster, Illyra answered, but we're smarter. In the cockpit, Jace flew low, through tight canyons, under bridge tunnels, across frozen oceans. Behind them, blasts rained down, one hitting the side wing. Elira's hands glowed again. She touched the panel, reinforcing the shields. Manually with her energy dot, every second made her weaker, her eyes blurred. "Don't stop," Jace said. "We're almost at the edge." But they both knew. The orbital trap was waiting far above. Space lit up. The trap net came alive, red lasers forming a giant wall around the planet's edge. Jace's jaw clenched. "It's a kill grid. We fly into that, we die." Elira looked out the window, then at her hands. "I can break it," she whispered. "But I don't know what it'll do to me." "You'll burn out," Jace said. "No," she looked at him. "You gave me hope, Jace. You saw me when no one did. Let me give you something back." The ship raced upward, faster, higher. The trap net grew closer. Jace yelled, "Elira, now!" Elira stood in the ship's core room. Her body was glowing gold. Her veins were light. Her eyes were stars. She screamed as the energy poured from her. Into the ship, and then into the sky. The trap net flickered, shook, and then exploded in a ring of light. Harmless and silent, in the command tower. The Vora general fell to his knees. "It can't be..." She overpowered the grid. An officer asked, "What do we do now?" The general said only one word: "Pray." The ship crossed into open space, free, but Elira collapsed. Jace ran to her. Held her in his arms. Her body was dimming, cooling. "I'm here," he whispered. "You did it," she smiled weakly. "I saw fire in my dreams. But this time, I was flying through it." Her voice faded and she fell still. Space was quiet. Too quiet. Inside the small ship, nothing moved, no voices. No sounds, only the slow, steady beep of a heart monitor. And even that was fading. The Lyra lay still. Her body was dim now. The golden light in her veins was gone. Jace sat beside her, not moving. His hands were covered in engine grease. And her blood, he whispered her name again and again. "Elira, Elira, please." But she didn't answer. This wasn't how heroes were supposed to die. Not alone. Not like this. Not after saving a world that wanted her gone. Suddenly, a soft pulse came from her chest, just once. Then, again, slow, weak, alive. Jace grabbed her hand. "You're still with me." He searched the ship's console. No med bay. No healing unit. The ship was too old. Too broken. They were still flying through deep space. No planet nearby. He looked at the map. One blinked. Station Sigma 12. An abandoned mining colony. "Hold on," he said, setting course. Hours passed. Elira didn't wake, but sometimes her fingers twitched, like she was dreaming. And inside her dreams, she stood in a burning field, surrounded by memories, her mother, her people, her past, all fire. All gone. Then she heard his voice through the flames. "Don't leave me." The ship landed roughly. On Sigma 12, the station was falling apart, rusted and half frozen. But it had one thing they needed, an automed chamber. Jace carried her through metal halls, his legs shaking. He placed her inside the chamber, closed the lid, and activated it. A robotic voice said, "Vital signs low. Recovery, 19%. Warning. Neural link failing." Jace leaned against the wall. His strength was gone. But his eyes stayed on her. He whispered, "You gave me everything, Elira. If I could give my life for yours, I would." And then, the machine offered a choice. "Would you like to initiate biological energy transfer? One life can stabilize. The other..." Jace paused. He had no orders. No backup, no one coming for him, only her, and she had already given too much. He didn't hesitate. "Yes," he said. "Take mine, give her a chance." Inside the chamber, golden light returned. Elira's skin began to glow again. Her heart beat faster, her breath returned, but Jace fell to his knees, his vision blurred. His heartbeat slowed. He smiled once, then collapsed beside the chamber. Minutes passed. Then the chamber opened. Elia gasped, her eyes wide. She sat up fast, heart racing, and looked around. "Jace?" She saw him, lying motionless beside her. "No," she whispered. No, 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 she crawled to him, her hands glowing again. But this time, the light was different, brighter, fuller, more stable. She touched his chest, tears ran down her face. You gave me life, she said. Now let me give it back. She placed both palms over his heart, closed her eyes and shared the fire. His body jerked, once, then again his eyes snapped open. He stared at her, confused, then overwhelmed. You're alive? She laughed through tears. Because of you. He sat up slowly. I thought I was gone. You were, she said. But love doesn't let go that easy. Outside, in the silence of space, Sigma-12 satellite picked up a signal. A perfect fusion of two life forms, one human, one hybrid. One bond, something new had been born, not just survival, but connection. Back inside, Jace and Alira sat near a small heat panel. Neither spoke for a while. Then she finally asked, Why did you choose me? Back on Vora. He looked into her glowing eyes. Because the world saw a beggar, but I saw a beginning. They don't speak her name in fear anymore. Now, they speak it in stories. Not of war, not of weapons, but of a girl and a crumb of bread. Galaxies away from planet Vora. Children gather at night near starlit screens. They whisper her name like a secret. Alira, and they ask, Is it true that she once begged for food and instead found love? The elders nod and begin the tale again. It started with fire. It ended with light. Months had passed since their escape from Vora. Jace and Alira had found a new world. Small, quiet, untouched. A place without kings or cages. They called it Nares, a word from Alira's ancient language. It meant home. Built from ash. The first shelter was made by hand. Then others came. The forgotten ones, refugees, orphans, lost people from lost places. They had heard the signal broadcast across old trade channels. You are not broken, you are invited. And so they came. Alira did not wear a crown, she wore scars. She led not with commands, but with memory. Jace stood beside her, a soldier. With no war, a protector with no orders. Only a choice, and he chose her every day, but even peace brings echoes. One evening, under the twin moons, Alira stood alone at the riverbank. Her reflection flickered, part human, part light. Do you regret it? Jace asked, stepping beside her. She didn't answer at first. Then she said, Sometimes I wonder if I was meant to burn, not to rebuild. He smiled softly. You did burn, but from that fire a garden grew. Back on Vora, silence ruled the throne rooms. The trap net had failed. The prisoners had escaped. The people whispered, not in anger, but in curiosity. Some said Alira was a myth. Others said she would return not with warships, but with something worse. An idea. The Vora feared ideas. Because ideas cannot be chained. In time, messages began to appear across neutral systems. Vora enslaved me. Alira freed me. She lit the sky with hope. If one human can care, maybe more can. People began to rise, not with guns, but with kindness. And one day it happened. A Vora child, lost and starving, appeared at Nares colony gates. Alira looked at him. He was just like she once was. She knelt down and offered him bread, the same way Jace had offered it to her. Full circle. In that moment, Jace whispered to her, Do you see? This is how it spreads. What? She asked. Hope. Years passed. The colony grew. A school was built. A new network of planets formed, built not on fear, but connection. And at the center of it all was one love story, not of fairy tales, but of rescue, of choice, of a soldier who gave bread. And a girl who gave the stars. Alira once begged for a crumb. They gave her nothing, but one human. Gave her everything. Final scene. A recording plays on an old comms device. The last words. Alira sent before going silent forever. Her voice is soft, strong. If you're hearing this, you've felt hunger. Maybe not of food, but of love, of place, of worth. I was born to burn. But someone looked at me and saw life. So now I look at you and I say, you're still here. That means something. It means everything.